We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Whoa, what is going on? What if I told you that Bitcoin did not make an all-time high yet this cycle and is actually far away from it? And what if I told you that in the next couple of days this turnaround is going on in the crypto market that is actually going to lead to this new all-time high? That and all we will discuss in this live stream today, and also we are going to talk a little bit about the market altcoins. We have a specific focus on Avalanche today, just because there is some news coming out that looks very good for Avalanche, and then also we're going to, as always, talk about Ecomi and VeVe, so make sure to stay all the way through. So, good morning to all of you. Well, there is a lot of people, like, you guys are excited. Do you, you also have public holidays, or what is going on? I know that here in Bavaria we have public holiday tomorrow, so I will have some free days, which means that Crypto Morning Coffee will have a little bit of a different time then, and it seems that you're pretty motivated. So if that is the case, then smash up the like button unless you're driving, and also subscribe if you haven't yet, but most of the people here are rare hodlers anyway, so thanks to all the rare hodlers, by the way, around me. We are in the 40s, so next possible mint here is 42. And I see a lot of you are already here. By the way, why is my chat window not displaying you? G-Money is here. Good morning. Trucking Hank also here. Good morning. Mark D is here. It's Binance. It's always Binance, guys. It's always Binance. Walrus King says, yo, PH, what's going on, man? And Green Lantern wants to ape a big fat bag into laptop. That's also fine. Good morning to you. And let's jump right into the action without further blah blah. So let's go with Bitcoin first, as always, and see that we are actually green. We are green for Bitcoin. I mean, we had been already a little bit higher, but since 3 days we are only going upwards, and that despite, or even because, the first economic data that we have been getting in, and I have it somewhere here in the tabs, but it's a little bit unorganized today, so we will have to deal with that. And our goal is to end up in the month here, so it's not too much. And today is probably the most important day, because today we get CPI, Consumer Price Index, and that means that we get the inflation numbers that will lead to rate cut decision and so on, and will also show a little bit more state of economy and how people are doing at the moment. But first of all, let's when we're talking about inflation, right, that also impacts obviously the what our Bitcoin is worth if we measure it in dollars, right? So in the end, it's I think in the long run, it's not so much a question of how much dollars we get for our Bitcoin or how much euros we are going to get for our Bitcoin, but it's more a question of how much assets or things, purchases, grocery, houses, cars we get for our Bitcoin, right? So, and that ultimately, I mean, at the moment we can measure that in dollar, but ultimately we have to measure how many cars and houses we get for one Bitcoin. So here's the thing where I'm getting at is, if in 2021 I purchased an item for $69,000, which happened to be one Bitcoin then in 2024 that same item would cost me 80,001, which means that Bitcoin technically, in terms of what it purchases us, in terms of how many dollars we get, has to be at 80,000 right now to be at all-time high, right? So 15.9% inflation over the course of 3 years, which means that even going to our 74,000 is not an all-time high at all, right? And we happen to see this impact. Before, it didn't really matter because inflation rate was not high enough. But when we're looking at the Bitcoin chart here, and we look at where it started really to impact the Bitcoin price, so to say, was here at this peak that should never have been a peak, right? Because the inflation from here to here was so high that this actually happened, but it should have looked like this, right? So a lower high, a normal blow off top scenario, whatever, right? But it didn't. So now we basically have this overshooting of an all-time high, but actually, if you would put this like Bitcoin chart purified by all-time high, our trajectory should look somewhat like this, yeah? And then somewhere we come up to our all-time high. So actually this we need to get to this 80,000 as fast as possible, right? Yeah. Lucas says GM gang homework time. What do you mean? You're in school and you have to do your homework, or is that or do you think this is an educational stream? Anyways, so then if this is true and we need to go to $80,000, then we need to look at power of law here. For example, we look at power of law. That actually tells us where we're really at in terms of our price action. And so what we see here at power of law is, if you see the indicator here, so we have the price in orange, we have linear regression fit, which is the green line, and support and resistance upper lower band. So very easy to read, right? So now let's consider that the linear regression fit is our bear market, let's say, indicator, right? If we drop below linear regression fit, we are actually in a bear market. So how can I do this so that okay, so I will move this window a little bit so that we also have the chat in place. So that would mean that according to power of law, and I just defined that linear regression fit is somewhat of like bear market territory, but it kind of fits because here it's like bull market support also, right? So we are still under this, meaning technically with our 60,000 we're still in a bear market, right? If we would want to interpret, look at this bear market here, for example, it's under a linear regression fit until it broke out and then the parabolic move above it. So if we look at our price action at the moment, it's just that we are under it. And I would say this is still buying territory. And also I would say whatever breakout we have, but at the moment, even if we would go from here, like a parabolic move to the upside, we would go direction 200k for sure if we mimic the last cycle, and we would go beyond 300k if we mimic the previous cycles. And this would be if we go up in a straight line. If this happens more to the end of the year, we are going like more in the direction of 400k with the upper resistance band. So absolutely nuts in my opinion. And yeah, that's the view that I want you to have here. when we're looking at Bitcoin price, because obviously Bitcoin should be a hedge against inflation, meaning Bitcoin has to very quickly go to 80K, and then from 80K we are talking new all-time highs, right? So let's keep that in mind, that 80K for Bitcoin is not like super big, number. We have achieved something new. No, to really outperform inflation, that needs to go beyond. Your stream is morning homework. Good morning to everybody. Yeah, welcome Luca, and I hope you enjoy it. Now let's get our daily dose of FUD in as well, because what would be crypto without a little bit more FUD, right? So there's another 2 billion worth of Bitcoin that got moved from Mt. Gox by BitGo. Is probably the last batch of the Q3 distribution phase. So 2 billion, we're used to it, right? 2 billion is nothing, and we have seen that like 2 billion is what MicroStrategy is raising to buy Bitcoin. So technically, even if everyone that receives these 2 billion like sells into the market, it's absorbed by MicroStrategy's endeavor to buy more Bitcoin anyways. And then we didn't even talk about the other institutions as well. So that is our daily dose of FUD. There is a little bit more Bitcoin coming to people. As someone said also here in the comments, you can't see it, but said, ooh, oh, nothing will happen. Yeah, exactly. That is what is going to happen. And coinciding with this, even the exchanges, they need some more reserve, because look at that, the exchange reserve, all exchanges has dropped to nothing. Yeah, basically, exchange reserve is at 2.76 million Bitcoin from 2.84 million or 2.85 million. So it's yeah, that's a big plunge, I would say. And that will ultimately lead to the squeeze that will shoot Bitcoin way higher, to maybe to the all-time high that we need, to real inflation purified all-time high of brain lag. Sorry for that. Let me get a sip of coffee of $80,000. That's what I want to say. Now here, this is another one. Let's talk about institutional adoption. Goldman Sachs just had a 13F filing to disclose what they own, and they're like aping into all the stocks and into all the ETFs of Bitcoin. And what we see here is this is the strategy, right? The fees are a little bit different, but these institutions, they are going to go with all of them. So they have 238 million in BlackRock, about 80 million in Fidelity, 35 million in Grayscale's BTC, which is the new one, I think. Yeah, the new one with the low fees. 56.1 million in Galaxy Invesco, and then also some in Bitwise, a little bit in Wisdom Tree, and a little bit in ARK. So they have shares in almost all of the ETFs, right? So totaling almost $500 million. Goldman Sachs, right? And I mean, you know that, like, it's not too long ago that all of these guys that are leading these companies came on and said that Bitcoin is a scam, and that they would do everything to go against Bitcoin and so on. So don't listen to what they say. Don't listen to what they say. Look at what they are doing. Watch what they are doing. Now, someone also rightfully so says, why are we celebrating big banks getting into this? Well, because it's institutional adoption. I mean, yes, there was time for us to buy, maybe not enough time, but I mean, it's institutional adoption, so it needs to be looked at with an eye of skepticism, obviously, and then also we need to celebrate it on the other hand, right? So obviously we don't want to fumble the opportunity of a lifetime, which is to still get into Bitcoin, because from everything that we're looking at, the fundamentals are screaming that Bitcoin is extremely low still, and no one can imagine right now that we would be early right now as we are in the midst of institutional adoption. But on the other side, we are still, institutions are adopting, but we are still in front of about 7.5 billion people adoption, right? So 7.5 billion people that don't really have Bitcoin or are not dealing with Bitcoin. So that is pretty amazing. And we're in front of the US paying off their debt, their interest rates on debt. So here's the interest expense, and I'm really talking about almost every day about this because it's crazy, right? So the interest expense on only US public debt, there are 200 other countries or so on the planet that all have debt as well. But the US one is very interesting. It's closing in on 1.2 trillion. Here's 1.1 trillion. And the Bitcoin market cap is only 1.2 trillion. So the US is supposed to pay interest rate this year, or of a full year, of roughly the size of Bitcoin's entire market cap. What does that mean? It means that in terms of quantitative easing, in terms of money printing, in terms of what is going to hit the market, the market cap of Bitcoin is extremely small right now. And we also see it that Bitcoin is not at its all-time high when we're looking at new money into the market, when we're looking at inflation. So I would say still a very big chance. Obviously altcoins are also a big chance, but Bitcoin in itself, I would argue, is still on a big one. Now, yesterday we had economical data. So for example, we had the producer price index, the PPI, and they're all a miss. So the predictions were all a miss, and it came out worse, way worse than it should have been. So let's look at it a little bit more. So the producer price index, so it's basically how prices have evolved from a producer perspective for not retail but wholesale. And what we see is so previous year, for example, PPI month over month, July, was like preview was 0.2, consensus 0.2, and then 0.1 is the actual, right? So here we see here all the bull indicator in terms of this says basically we are going to get rate cuts, right? Core PPI previous 0.3, and then it comes out at 0.0, and then we also have the PPI at the actual year over year PPI sorry, I said preview, right? But the previously is 2.7, and then it comes out only in 2.2. So that is crazy. And yeah, so they're all a miss, as we see, which means that basically our September rate cut is mostly guaranteed right now. But let's look at CPI today, right? CPI today will probably reflect that at some form of shape, and that is going on. Flow first says, what do you think of XRP? Let's see how we do this. Okay, so let's go into Market Watch and look at how our markets are doing. So where's XRP? XRP is in the top 100 for sure. So it should be somewhere here. But maybe it didn't move so much, and then it's a small bubble, hard to find. But XRP must be in the top 100. That is for sure. What is this? I don't even know where it is here on the screen. I'm probably blind. This is right in front of me. But there it is on the bottom. So XRP, there it is here, 2.3% up today. What do I think of it? I think it's it hasn't moved in. It has some serious catch up to do, only to bring people to 0%, right? That are invested in XRP. I think it's a super big market cap. If you aren't already in it, I probably also I wouldn't go into it. Just because I think there are better options in the market. Not because I'm hating on XRP, but I think there are better options in the market from a market cap standpoint and also from a narrative standpoint. So XRP is extremely old. It has won its lawsuit. Now the question is what will be new, so to say, in terms of how can we get narrative back to XRP, right? So again, I don't hate on XRP, and XRP is doing not so good in terms of other, in comparison to other projects. I mean, we can look at it also from a chart perspective. So this is we come back to the others chart in a second then for altcoins, but if there is already an interesting question, why not look at it? Now let's see XRP against the US dollar. Probably Bitstamp is a fine chart. Actually, we had charted it. I see it right now. The question is, did it already do something in that sense? we had put on technically you're moving in this type of pattern here, right? Something like this. And you could argue that if you have this type of pattern, that could be lead to a massive breakout, right? But this is like degenerate TA, and the decision would come somewhere to the end of the year, right? Symmetrical breakout to the downside, to the upside, possible, right? Yeah, I don't know. This is from way back then. It went out, like if you were in XRP before, then it is super fine where we are, right? But technically you could say, okay, let's have a breakout here. I don't know. Yeah, something like, I think it's even is this a log scale? Yeah, there you go. That's the log scale. So I mean, very close to breakout on the it depends on how you're charting this, to be honest, right? So I don't know. You could take either this or this, and then you go, let's see if this can really happen, right? I mean, you guys know that I'm all for TA, but what is that? That would be 250. I'm all for TA, but on the other side, I also say that at some point you are limited, right? You need narrative, you need capital inflow into it because of something happening, and I don't know if that's, yeah. So if I would have to guess, I would say the potential is 5x back to all-time high, and then some. Yeah, depends on how massive the bull run is. I mean, 5x would bring it back to this, and then we check here, and I would say it's reasonable to say, like, let's say you have a 5x, right? Which is not unreasonable for XRP. And then you approach this mega, like this resistance where everyone aped into it, and now they're all down from here. So people that want to get out of XRP, they will get out here. Maybe this will pose significant overhead resistance, right? I mean, 5x, if you would chart like, but 5x also, 5x is, what is that? 5x would be, yeah, it would be $3, right? So I mean, it is somewhere in line. I said 250 would be the measured move of this breakout, which would be a 4.5x. Yeah. you think there could be a future where it can be big. I don't know, because maybe I also don't know enough about the fundamentals, how it is, how it's all developing. I mean, if XRP manages to attract like an institutional, a countrywide use case, then maybe. But if it doesn't, then it's already poised to just move like every other altcoin with bear and bull markets, right? I mean, we see this here. We have a bull market with strong narrative. Then in the next bull, it fails to reach all-time high. Yeah, and then now the question is, will it go even lower, or will it take out the previous all-time high that was suppressed by the lawsuit, right? I'm looking more from... So if they can arrange something that gives it a superior narrative, I would definitely see that it can do really, really well, right? But so far, I am skeptical for XRP. Yeah, and so I would say, and this brings me to something else, I would say that probably something like Avalanche could, this cycle at least, could outperform the bigger projects, right? So for example, you see this here, it's clear that people want to play Off the Grid, the first blockchain game on PS5. First blockchain game on PS5 is also on Avalanche. So the closed playtest saw 400,000 transactions from 30k players this past week alone. So this is a shooter. It's on PS5. It looks really, really good. And Avalanche is getting more of those, like blockbuster games, AAA games, and so on. 400,000 transactions looks fine. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's super, super, like 30k players is fine for a blockchain PS5 game, right? But if you, let's say there are like, I don't know, let's say there are 20 of these games and one is going to be like a real banger, right? Then Avax could do really, really well. So, by the way, why I'm not following Avax, I should. So, what does it mean? It means that, like, look at the game like Axie Infinity, for example. Axie Infinity has not been on any of these portals like PS5 or Xbox or whatever, right? And Axie Infinity did extremely well. So I think this will spark two things. Like if Avax does well because of that, it will spark again the gaming narrative for this cycle. And also the transactions and things that are happening in these games, they probably will spark the NFT narrative also for this cycle, right? So NFTs like skins, weapon skins, player avatars, maybe even minting your own avatar, blah, right? Which brings into the direction of metaverse narrative again. So I think this is interesting. And also look at that, Avalanche has 1 million followers. So Avalanche is really big, and there's a lot of like Otherworld, and there's a lot of games. Let's look at the play Off the Grid, or the Off the Grid. It's a battle royale. I don't know why this is so fuzzy though. Okay, but here you go, right? So you have this like these weapons and everything, right? Let's see if there's anything here on this Off the Grid. Probably I need a new computer to try out the stuff, right? But apparently you have these items to maybe mint, who knows, right? So these weapons and so on. Is this loot boxes? Prove your skills. If they have loot boxes, so microtransactions in the game, this would be even crazier, right? Probably they have something like this. But then you have like, oh my god, you have like, look at that. This is So this is why is this so pixeled? But anyways, like it has the Superverse logo on it, right? Anyways, that is what Avalanche makes Avalanche look big, and maybe we can also look at Avalanche here quickly. Avax against US dollar on Bitstamp. Let's do the Bitstamp. Okay. There's not the data from the bull run. Maybe let's go to another exchange. Maybe Kraken has more. No. Who has more? Is there more? Bitfinex? There you go. Okay, so yeah. So we also see that it has built out nice support here, right? From the last bull. So this is, and don't, now you could say, oh, but this looks like XRP, only that XRP, like this is only one bull run. XRP in its chart has 2 bull runs without taking out the all-time high in the other one, right? So it's not comparable. But here for Avalanche, I would say you have some kind of a trend, and probably very likely for Avalanche we're poised to move a little bit more in this, like something like this, and then break out here, right? But I think Avalanche is really to go higher, and then there's also like a smaller support here where you could also argue that probably the turnaround could come here. Depends on Bitcoin. So CPI, you see why we do it this way, right? So CPI make Bitcoin go up, altcoins follow, and so on, right? If that is the case. If not, CPI comes in bad, they don't do the flip. So yeah. It's not comparable. Don't buy XRP. I wouldn't say that. I mean, in the end, you have to look at what you're familiar with, and which use case you can support, and which narratives you can see, right? And when people look at coins, like, I mean, Avalanche is also not a new coin. Like, the coins that you traditionally did best are the new ones. So there are new coins that do that onboard gaming on their chain, like VeVe, for example, right? But there are millions of others. So you could argue, I want the chains where games are on, right? Flowfuzz says, do you think the YouTubers making XRP videos are paid? No, I don't think so, because, for example, I make VeChain videos and I don't get paid by VeChain, but I really like the project. And I think that there are a lot of people, like XRP was one of the first altcoins to really do well and stay in the territory of like survival and not going to zero. And also it had this mega lawsuit and this discussion around it, big potential, yada yada. And I think it's just that many people, they went into this community and they fell in love with the project, and then they constantly do content on, they keep doing content on it, right? And in that sense, I'm also guilty on that, because like I really like VeChain. I also understand that. I mean, I somehow work in the industry of supply chain, right? And so I am, maybe these guys are also a little bit biased in that direction. I think most people are. So for example, if you look at VeChain, let's see if there is more chart. There are some like Bitfinex. So look at VeChain here, for example, right? So here you have this support on VeChain, right? And this is like previous bear market. This is, so VeChain, why does it look like this? Because they converted their coin into, like, with a coin split and so on. That was VEM before. but then like they had this overhead resistance here. They broke out, or you could say here they broke out, retest, boom, massive run, right? And I found VeChain in this run up. So I think I bought my first VeChain I bought here on this breakout, and I rode it all the way up, and I thought that it would go even higher. It didn't, and then bear market happened. You see here, by the way, VeChain has the trajectory of a really lower high there, where Bitcoin had another higher high, and held it all the way through the bear market. And now what I see in this is like you have some sort of support here, and my hope is that the use cases are playing out on VeChain. So I personally like VeChain, but I'm not paid by VeChain. So I think for XRP, there's a lot of XRP army, XRP community as well, where YouTubers, they just like the project. So VeChain with a really nasty drawdown here, towards 65% drawdown, so we had already pumped to 5.4 cents or so, and now we see that this is the monthly, right? So we see that since this level, the buyers are stepping in, the wicks are getting longer here. And now the big question is like if the altcoin market in general can turn around. Now, why do I personally think that VeChain is in sort different from XRP? Is because the RWA, the real world asset narrative, is going to play out very likely in the cycle. So the real world asset minting, like tokenization and so on, and that VeChain is falling somehow in this narrative, right? So the idea was that we move like this, like we did in the other cycle, but it seems to be taking longer, right? So you see here somehow the hope is that somehow this happens, and then and then you go ballistic at some point. We don't know when it happens. Could be a couple of more months, and then targets 8 cents, 28 cents. 59 cents, who knows, right? I'd personally say, and this is what I said about XRP as well, the moment you approach old all-time high, people want to get out of the token that are holding it. So what we buy today, comics, maybe we buy a comic today, but I have to look a little bit at the time, because today I can't go for so long. So really need to get to the good stuff here. And so probably we'll leave this for tomorrow to buy a comic, because I think the new comics are coming out in half an hour or something like that. So let's maybe refresh here so we get to altcoin chart overall. And this is more important than XRP, Avalanche, or VeChain, for example. Is this the others chart telling us whether there is a turnaround or not, right? So you see this, like this falling channel here, how it's playing out. So we are coming up exactly as predicted in this falling channel, and we will need a break. Maybe we discussed this also. Like today, maybe we do a little bit less of Ecomi and VeVe. But just to say, like, we are in this for altcoins. We want to see this couple up. We want to see the breakout, and then we are going to move we are going ballistic for altcoins, right? So this falling channel, the question is, will we come up here and then come back down again, or will we come up here and then break out? This depends on the macro, right? Jasper, I will go into this in a second, because there's actually something interesting to it. But let's look at Ecomi as well, obviously. There's not much to look at from the point of Ecomi. Ecomi is very low. If you are still bullish on Ecomi, then you are still on a very good entry here. Actually better than yesterday. Very close to all-time lows. 8% from all-time low. I think yesterday we were only 6%, so it's actually not as good as yesterday. So it's $428 for a million ohms. Overall, I think I charted it yesterday, but still. We're waiting for like a turnaround signal for Omi, right? And this will also come with fundamentals. It's like XRP. You need something that brings the news, right? Burn mechanic and so on. Omi to NFT is real, I can confirm. So that is good. So you probably have access to the beta, and it's via Stacker. Energy says me too. That is good. The question is how much will Omi to NFT, how much will it perform in terms of the burns? Like second factor here, right? There will be a channel on Twitter that will monitor specifically the Stacker burns. So there will be an Omi Watcher channel set up that will look at those burns, because it's another burn wallet than the original burn wallet, apparently. So that is good. And then we can look at the burns, and then we can calculate how these burns are going to affect the total supply in the future, if it makes a difference or not. Right, so yeah, but that is basically that. Then also we'll have a little bit of slower drop week, it seems. So today we will have the up scenario, then followed by an Powers of X comic, I think, or something like that, and then also the Mighties. Yeah, there are some Groot Mighties there's like the crossover between Groot and Thor and so on, I think. Something like that. But nothing too crazy at the moment from a brand's perspective. For VeVe. Let's maybe also look at VeVe here. And then so here are the new comics are coming out. I think it's soon. There is a giveaway also. If you tag people and something comment here, then you can win some comics. This is this looks nice. I mean, this comic looks nice. If you're collecting Mighties, I think it looks pretty good. But it's more or less 3 times the same one, like the Groot Avenger. Yeah, and that's it for the VeVe stuff. And by the way, smash up the like button, please. 26 people in here, and we had about 30 people in here. And let's get real quick into the topic that Jasper brought up. So it's a little bit off topic, but I want to talk about it. So did you listen to Elon Trump? I listened a little bit to it, but honestly, I already know about what they're talking about. But what I really find scary as a European is the development of Europe and the European government, also UK government, and the topic of free speech. And I think it's a fine line, but it needs to be talked about, right? So this letter by Thierry Breton or something like that, like he's from France. He basically before the interview of Elon and Trump, he posted this letter. Dear Mr. Musk, I'm writing to you context of recent events in the United Kingdom, so referring to UK riots. And then basically, I'm not reading everything, but basically he's like, it also implies informing EU judicial and administrative authorities without undue delay on the measures taken to address the orders against content considered illegal according to national and or European law, taking timely diligent blah blah blah, right? So he's like, I think the last parts are more important. So it's like, let me clarify that any negative effect of illegal content on X in the EU which could be attributed to the ineffectiveness of the way in which X applies the relevant provisions, blah, 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 blah. So what you see here is basically, overall, this letter urged to somehow to put pressure on maybe not doing that interview on X and having it available in the EU. And you could argue from everything that we heard so far with from the US, also with like interference of elections, you could argue that European Commission politician tried to interfere in the elections of the US, technically, with this letter, right? And also they're already like trying to pull it back. They're also trying to like it's like, oh yeah, it was not meant that way, and maybe the wording was, and it was not authorized, and so on, right? So I think this whole topic though is super interesting in one sense, like whether you agree with this or not, right? But there's a huge discussion in the world about free speech, and yeah, exactly. They said that letter was some rogue chap from the EU. Actually, it's not like a rogue chap. I mean, first of all, he's European Commission, and he branded this as European Commission. Put the CEO of X in CC. So it's not only it's not a private letter to Elon. Like that would be fine, right? But it's like an official letter. And he's like, my services and I will be extremely vigilant to any evidence that points to breaches of the DSA and will not hesitate to make full use of our toolbox, including by adopting interim measures, should it be warranted to protect EU citizens from serious harm. And they tried to, not them, but someone tried to hack X before the talks. That's all fine, right? But I think the topic is way broader than only having, is like the topic of free speech. It's broader, right? And what does it show? Like all of the social media that we are on, including YouTube, it's centralized, right? So it's somewhat centralized, even X. Now we have like someone like Elon that is more free speech oriented on X than maybe on other platforms. But there is a way to ensure this free speech, and it all comes down again to decentralization and blockchain, right? So technically, if you had a social media like X on blockchain that's governed by no one, basically by the community, no one can do anything about what is like content wise, what is said there, and so on, right? So obviously you can have measures against like highly illegal content in terms of like DAO supervision or something like that. But you would basically not have any government control anymore about stuff like that. So it's a thin line, it's a fine line. But I think it's an interesting development to look at and to observe what is happening and how certain people are going. Like it is worrying. It is worrying if a government posts, like for example the UA, if a government posts, think before you post. It's like, okay, what am I allowed to post and what not, right? So. The US will do the same whole of EU what they did to Britain in 1776. I don't know what that means, to be honest. NFT Hero says, yeah, they said he did not have authority to send that letter or something. Yeah, exactly. That could be possible that he didn't have the authority for that letter. Now it's out here, but also means that It's still an interference, even without authority, right? US judge just ruled that Google's search monopoly is illegal. Okay, so what? But the question is, technically it's not a monopoly, right? There is Yahoo. There's Yahoo and what is that, DuckDuckGo or something like that, and the Proton and I don't know what. So technically it's not illegal. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting development, and we should keep an eye on how it develops. But I mean, technically, the EU could say, "Oh, it's illegal to make crypto content," right? Then, what then? Then we all get banned, right? So we need to be careful there. So it's really like either you got. So the hard line is either you got free speech or you don't, right? You cannot say you have. You cannot say you have free speech, but these 5,000 topics are illegal to talk about. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's a super complex topic. But anyways, guys, I have to jump here today a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, I wanted, but probably in the next days we have more time because it's public holiday. It will be at a different hour, so be sure to tick the bell to get a notification when I go online. Also follow me on Twitter. I always post, "Hey, Crypto Mornings coffee starting soon." I post it on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter with @hodlerpatient, then you will always know when I go online. I know that we also have to do a DGen altcoin stream again to ape into our portfolio, so probably that's also going to happen during this public holiday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And if you want to buy a comic, probably we're doing it on stream tomorrow. So that's going to be a little bit more fun then. Maybe I don't know if there is a drop tomorrow. So maybe like during public holidays, weekends, we can do also some drop stream getting in where we can completely focus on Ecomi and VeVe. So that is something that I want to see if I can maybe create some extra here for you guys. But yeah, so thank you to all of you guys for tuning in. Smash the like button on your way out, subscribe to the channel, notifications on, and wherever